Hey folks, it's Maxwell here and welcome to another TW9 episode. You join us with 2 weeks to go on the road to Forbidden Door after a very successful Battle of Los Angeles Night 2. It's going to be so difficult to top that going forward, but it certainly gives us a good incentive to at least get there. So, a few things we obviously carry on. We'll start building towards the Forbidden Door card. We'll obviously have a few people recapping what went on at Bola. And our main event tonight is going to be that Swerve Strickland Keith Lee final match in the series, and then they can go their separate ways from there. So sit back, relax, and here is Dynamite, followed by Collision, and then we'll round up both Rampage and Shockwave. Let's go. So we're in the Blue Cross Arena, and we start with the winner of the 2025 Battle of Los Angeles. It is Will Ospreay, and he says, "What can I say to you, lovely, lovely people? It feels so good to be the winner of the 2025 Battle of Los Angeles. Now, don't get me wrong, that night was hell. I had Hangman, Kenny Omega, and Kazuchika Okada all in one night, 3 classic matches, 1 trophy, and quite a few nagging injuries. But I don't stop there. I will now face Okada for the AEW World Championship All Out, and you can be damn sure if I can do it once, I can do it again. In fact, how about if we ask you, lovely people, if we can see Scott D'Amore, and if we can arrange for a little exhibition at Forbidden Door, to see if King Kazu wants to put the title on the line early. I want to prove to myself and prove to the world that despite being British, I am one of the best wrestlers to come through the New Japan Pro Wrestling system." He's interrupted though with, nah, sweaty bollocks, I'm not having that. The best British wrestler out the New Japan system? Me, Zack Sabre Jr.? And he goes, "William, you are looking at him, and I will not hesitate to break you down bone for bone and make sure you don't even make it to All Out." And after this, Ospreay just turns around and goes, "Well, you know, Zachary," obviously playing on the William part, "why don't you get King Kazu, Okada? We'll have you two in my corner. I think I know the man for the occasion." So, building towards that one, we're hopefully going to see Will Ospreay and a partner taking on Zack Sabre Jr. and Kazuchika Okada in our Forbidden Door main event. That's a 75 segment. The performance of Ospreay was good. So these two were obviously working the crowd, and because Okada was mentioned, he was down as off screen. I was kind of hoping for a bit of rating though. Opening match though, decent match. Mercedes Moné defeats Arisa Nakajima in 10:35 with a submission victory via the bank statement. Made this one steal the show. I was hoping Arisa could maybe carry her with her fantastic technical ability. But overall, 67 wrestling and a 69 segment. Both ladies pretty similar in terms of ring performance, but another good performance for Mercedes Moné. Her promo is a 68. Now, last week, the Moné train had a little bump by not winning the Battle of Los Angeles, but rest assured, I never make the same mistake over and over again. I beat Toni Storm like I said I would, and Io, it was a nice win in the tournament, a truly impressive performance. But tonight I showed I can beat one of the best that Japan has to offer, and I intend to do the same at Forbidden Door. So when all that happens, I'm ready, and I'm going to put you back in your place. So for Forbidden Door, I'm laying out my challenge, and I hope that you will show up in Collision, Mayu Iwatani. So we're setting up hopefully for Mercedes versus Mayu at Forbidden Door. The winner of that will face Io Shirai for the Women's Championship at All Out, and that segment was a 68. Next up, we had a decent matchup. The first of our people coming over from New Japan was a decent little brawl as FTR picked up the win over Clark Connors and Gabe Kidd in 14:02 when Cash Wheeler pinned Clark Connors with the big rig. Clark Connors was a weak link though, which you can see there with the 52 compared to everyone in the 70s, which is pretty decent. The AEW New Japan storyline starts with this one, and overall it was a 73 segment. Connors and Kidd from New Japan are enraged, and they've immediately went on the attack on of FTR, beating down both Cash and Dax. Kidd then nails Cash with the Madman Bomb, and then he hits Dax with the Drill a Hole Pile Driver, leaving FTR completely down and out. What an impact! So, ideal situation would have wanted Connors and Kidd to go over. Dax wasn't feeling it, so I just put them over, and we'll have the revenge beatdown. So happy how that went as we build a little program here, and that was a 58 rated segment. Moving on to more women's action, it was about to have some decent wrestling, but little heat as Hikaru Shida defeated Saru Arai in 12:39 with a Falcon Arrow. This was our storytelling match of the night, which I'm actually shocked was really good. I was unsure if their styles would maybe clash, but a 67 and a 71 segment overall. We just need to keep looking Shida, keep her strong, so eventually we can push her back in to title scenarios. Then moved on to the tag division, and of course, challenging for those tag belts at All Out is going to be Ricochet and Ua. And they picked up a good victory over Sammy Guevara and Rocky Romero in 13-13, when Ricochet pinned Rocky with a 630. Overall, 67 for the wrestling, a 74 segment overall, pretty good though. Sammy really off his game, but I'd say it's a much better performance than we'd been getting from him. But solid stuff from Ricochet with the 82. Moving along, we had Scott D'Amore announce that we will begin the Owen Hart Foundation tournament for 25 tonight. One match will take place tonight, and the rest will take place over the next 2 weeks of collisions and dynamites. Both the quarterfinals and semi-finals before the finals take place at Forbidden Door, with the men's winner challenging for the TNT Championship and the women's winner challenging for the TBS Championship, all out. In the women's tournament, it's Queen Aminata versus Megan Bayne, it's Riho versus Sky Blue, it's Yuka Sakazaki versus Anna Jay, and it's Azumi versus Athena. For the men, we're going to see Daniel Garcia versus Swerve Strickland, we're going to see Nick Wayne versus Wheeler Yuta, Eddie Kingston versus Ricky Starks, and starting right now, we are going to have Rey Fenix versus Rush in our opening round matchup. These two delivered a pretty good matchup here. It had great wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd as Rey Fenix picks up the win in 14:48 with the Meteora. This match was designed so the wrestlers go out and try and steal the show. 80 for the wrestling, 81 for the segment. Phoenix win 85, Rush with 75, and there was a few points because of the lack of psychology, but that means Rey Fenix advances to the semi-final. We then get a little hype package for the history in the past and recent stuff between Swerve and Keith Lee, from both becoming All Elite to the tag run as Swerve in Your Glory, to all the stuff that Swerve Strickland did while Keith was away, and then they talk on Keith's return. So it's going to be a case of, can Keith Lee hang with Swerve Strickland? Can he finally get the win? That was a 55 there. And their match up in the main event, about that had some good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. Swerve Strickland defeats Keith Lee in 13:56 with a Swerve Stomp. 74 for the wrestling, 80 for the crowd, though they were really into it. But I think you can tell by the performances, you've got to put the faith in Swerve. There's too big a gap between him and Keith. His 57 played and 91 from Swerve Strickland. So Swerve ends the feud with Keith Lee. And we finished the show. Swerve Strickland has done it. He defeats Keith Lee again. But what will this mean for Keith Lee going forward? We'll find out. But Swerve Strickland poses on the top rope, standing on the ramp, as his opponent in round 1 of the Owen Hart Foundation Cup, Daniel Garcia. Both of these men will collide on Collision this week. So that's an 85 for that one. Now, I know we have the brand split, but yeah, if I want to get this done, some of them are going to have to appear on Collision. So we will see those two take place on Collision. And of course, I need to try and bring up a few other people from developmental. Oh, aye, it is not Athena versus Azumi. It's Billy Starks. Athena was a placeholder. That's right, I remember now. Because Billy Starks is still in Ring of Honor. I hadn't called her up yet. That was my bad. I wonder why I put Athena, and that's why. So Billy Starks, Azumi is your first round match there. So overall, it's 78. Increased their popularity in 29 regions. To be honest, I'm quite happy with that one. Normally we obviously want to get 53, but we kind of need to be getting higher than 80 shows to improve with our TV. And especially after the week we've just had, like, a lot of our main event talents had to be rested. Like, literally, from that tournament, I think Mercedes is the only one that wrestled. So obviously just putting everyone else in the back burner to recover. But still happy. That's, say, puts us in the right place. And already you can see a few programs started for not only All Out, but Forbidden Door as well. Any locker room incidents before Rampage? Nope. Let's move along to Collision. So moving on to Collision, we are going to be hosting this at the Cross Insurance Arena. And we mostly in this show cover the first round of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, with the semi-finals predominantly going to take place on Dynamite. So in this one, it's a decent matchup to open the show. Nick Wayne defeats Wheeler Yuta in 11:27 by pinfall. This match was designed so that the wrestlers could go out and steal the show. Overall, pretty happy with it, considering Yuta was off his game. A 64 is still pretty good. and a 65 for wrestling, a 67 segment. But yeah, just a bit of a shock here, but it kind of ties into my ideas about what we want to do going forward with Wheeler, Utah. We'll then hear some words from Daniel Garcia, who is backstage. Says, tonight I take on Swerve Strickland in what should be an incredible first round match in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. But my mind is set. I'm going to battle Swerve, I'm going to win this tournament, add this great accolade to my collection, and then go on and win the TNT Championship All Out. Now, make no question about it, it's going to be difficult, and I'm up for the task. I've came through so much in my life so far, and this is just another step in my journey. And don't you all think I've forgotten about Zack Sabre Jr. You have your little exhibition at Forbidden Door, but we will meet again. So obviously I need to tackle that storyline, it's still happening. But at 58 there, the storyline advances and gains heat. Just that these two will continue that programme at points. I just have to get through this first round match to start with. And it was a 58 rated segment. Not the best. Moving along, we had some decent wrestling and little heat, as Anna Jay defeated Yuka Sakazaki in 809 with the Queen Slayer submission hold. 58 for the wrestling and a 64 segment, so obviously Anna Jay is still not the greatest in-ring technician, but Yuka Sakazaki carried her to a good 71 performance here, and the great chemistry really did boost up a little bit, so not the worst, but again, Anna's only going to get better with matches. Then I had a little segment where Wheeler Yuta is basically talking to himself, but just says, what the hell is wrong with me? I was a man who cost Bryan Danielson time in his career, and now I'm just losing to a goddamn teenager. So he's questioning himself, you're meant to be this guy that's part of the Death Riders, causing all these issues to AEW, and he's just lost to a teenager. And that was a 65 rated segment. Per match up next is Riho defeats Sky Blue in 751 with a jumping knee attack. This was the storytelling matchup. Sky Blue, like Anna Jay, is obviously a big work in progress, so I felt this was going to be the weaker match on the card. And a 60 overall is not too bad there, but Sky Blue's time will come. We just have to utilise Rio in this tournament at the moment, and she picks up a win. I think though if she wasn't off her game, you might be looking at a 47 or a 48 there. We then have a double promo. We first hear from Absolute Ricky Starks. Tonight is the opening of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, and it's time for me to become the first time winner, and then go on to become the TNT champion at All Out. It's just a grand shame that tonight I've got to face that bum Eddie Kingston. Eddie's a loser, he's the polar opposite of me, he's a slob, and tonight I show that he's nowhere near my level. We then cut to Eddie Kingston. So that's what Starks has to say, yada yada yada. Now Eddie's promos go. Listen Ricky, I don't like you, and you've just added fuel to the fire, and in a few minutes time I'm going to beat your ass. So 84, 85 for Ricky Starks, 82 for Eddie Kingston. He struggled going off script, although he wanted to improvise, but an 84 is a very solid promo. And they about had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd, as where Ricky Starks defeat Eddie Kingston in 9:31 with underhanded tactics. We also had the stablemate of Ricky Starks, Wardlow, distract Eddie Kingston. So overall, a 73 for the wrestling, a 77 for the segment. Eddie went 81, which is very good. Starks with a 64, but Ricky advances to the semi-finals. Also, no Hart tournament on the women's bracket. We had decent wrestling, but a little heat, as Big Billy Starks defeated Azumi in 10:50 by pinfall. I made this one steal the show, really give Billy Starks a good opportunity here. Sadly, she was really off her game, so that cost her a lot. Azumi with a 74, Billy probably would be mid-50s, but they carried her to a 68 rated segment. So Billy Starks into the semi-finals. We then have the segment with the champ Mercedes Moné. So here we are, your champion is here, and as promised on Dynamite, I am calling out you, Mayu Iwatani. So where the hell are you, bitch? Maya's music plays, she heads to the ring as Mercedes stares her down. So what, are you just going to disrespect me and not talk? Do you think you're better than me? As Mercedes just continues to berate Mayu. Mayu just looks at her and she just laughs. Mercedes then turns around to try and slap Mayu, she misses, and Mayu hits her with a kick to the face. Mercedes goes to retaliate, but the music of Io Shirai plays and Io walks out to the top of the stage, and in seeing this, strikes fear into Mercedes' eyes and she begins to back off. Next week at Forbidden Door, we will see Mercedes Moné versus Mayu Iwatani. And if Mercedes can retain the championship, then it will be Mercedes Moné versus Io Shirai at All Out. So a lot to cover there for Mercedes Moné. Deadline for Mercy storyline has started. Io looked good. The segment overall is 75. In the women's tournament, it was a decent wrestling match that didn't have much heat as Megan Bain defeated Queen Aminata in 10:30 by pinfall. Pretty good stuff here, 50 and 60 performances, 59 for the wrestling and a 64 segment overall as Megan Bain advances to the semi-final. Then have some words from Maxwell Jacob Friedman. So in just over a week's time, a bunch of losers from Japan and Mexico will join up for a big show with us here in AEW. Great move, more people try to come to MJF's time. See, what I notice that is a familiar trend is a lot of older wrestlers who just can't give up the spotlight. Just like Cope, just like Christian Cage, just like that schmuck Chris Jericho. So you know what I'm going to do? Next week, any wrestler from New Japan Pro Wrestling or CMLA or whatever the hell it's called, step up and face me because I'm better than you and you know it. So MJF's open challenge to someone from CMLL or New Japan Pro Wrestling. Basically, there'll be a lot of matches where it depends who's available, who we can get on loan from the companies. So like MJF, even Bryan Danielson will probably get just a match made on the day. The storyline stuff and the big matches will obviously be All Out. And that puts us to main event time on Collision. And it was about to had some great wrestling. As expected, a decent reaction from the crowd. And we had Swerve Strickland defeat Daniel Garcia in 1945 with the Swerve Stomp. 82 wrestling, 66 of the crowd, 86 segment overall. We had a 78 performance from Danny Garcia and an 86 from Swerve Strickland. So, we have an 80 overall. We didn't result in any popularity, because that's kind of where we're at, which is fine. You could say we would have had 2 over, but it was important to get the tournament up and running. As I say, it's got to be quick, it's done in a week. So, I'd still say I'm fairly happy with that. Also, it gives other people that were at the Bola second night a lot of time to recover. So, I'll take that. I just don't like following the storylines and matches. I feel promo to get to the big match, so I don't mind taking that hit. Any locker room incidents before I go to Shockwave? So, I'll quickly go and do Shockwave, and then what we'll cover is going to be the results of Rampage, Shockwave, and we'll look at the tournament, and we'll see what the semi-finals are in next week's episode. So as we're back at the news screen, there's a few things that have caught my eye before we go through the Shockwave and the Rampage results. Number 16, Bill Goldberg retires. Bret Hart will be delighted. And number 30, Jim Cornette is in a rant again. The more things change, the more they stay the same. We are going to give 4 pay request increases, so that'll be Leon Slater, that'll be for Josh Woods, Millie McKenzie, and Ver Vixen. So updates in Ring of Honor effectively, or our various developmental places. Chris Statler in talks for a new deal. Javier Bernal's a sounding extension to his NXT deal. Collision got a 1.46 rating, 2 million viewers for Shockwave, and Io Shirai says that Mayu Iwatani has charisma. Imagine that. But good that Io Shirai practically viewed as a locker room leader. So, show history. Rampage. The Listico defeated Matt Sydal in a 46 rated match. We had some words from Harley Cameron, which was a 53. Sari defeated Marina Shafir, which was a 60. We then had some hype for Hook, which was a 54, before he defeated John Silver in a 68. We had some words from the Bastard Pack about how he's trying to refine himself. That was a 66. And he defeated AR Fox in our main event, and that was an 80. The 90 minutes of Shockwave saw the team of Hologram, Vikingo and Top Flight defeat the Grizzled Young Veterans and the Workhorsemen in a 72. It was meant to be both of MXM Collection, but for some reason it didn't add Mansoor. But anyway, Connors and Gabe Kidd beat him down. That was a 60. Nigel McGuinness picked up his second win over Colt Cabana in the space of a month in a 65 victory. And they cut some words just basically saying, like, there's still life in the old dog yet. That was a 61. We had some words from Serena Deeb saying that she's looking to take on some of the best that New Japan, Stardom, etc. have to offer next week. So I'm going to do like a big multi-man women's match. So that was a 43. Bailey and Nixon No from the Money Corporation defeated Dani Luna and Tay Melo, which was a 65. Tay will drop out until she goes on maternity leave. Had some words from Bailey and Nixon, which was a 55. That can help the character growth of Nixon No. Brian Keefe defeated Michael Orkio in a 44. Just said they weren't over enough for a good match. And in our main event, it suffered from a lack of psychology, but Bandido picked up the win over Arya Davari in a 64. So 63 for Shockwave and a 75 for Rampage, because obviously Pac versus AR Fox delivered. So on the next show, we'll be looking to do the semi-finals of the Owen Hart tournament. So we're looking forward to Swerve Strickland versus Nick Wayne and Ricky Starks versus Ray Phoenix. And for the women's side, we'll have Megan Bain against Rio and Anna Jay versus Billy Starks. But as I say, when it gets to Forbidden Door, a couple of matches will be made on the spot. But you can already book in the Owen Hart finals for the men and the women. Gibb and Connors against Gabe Kidd anyway, and Clark Connors against the FTR. You're going to see the team of Zack Sabre Jr. and Kazuchika Okada against Will Ospreay and the partner. MJF versus someone. We'll probably a lot of people up as well, and of course Mayu Iwatani, Mercedes Moné for the AEW Women's Championship. But I say we'll try and get as many matches as we can on that show. Just a couple of dream matches that we made on the spot. I'll try and get as many loads in at the last minute as I can. You'll probably see more of the booking for it on Collision, because that'll give us an idea of who we've definitely got. And then after that, it's the 2-week, or is it 3-week build to All Out. And as you say, we can already start to look to that. 3-week build, that's fine. That's going to give us plenty of time between Forbidden Door and All Out, because already some stuff is in the pipeline. But anyway, cheers for watching, it's much appreciated. I say it's been good to give everybody a rest after that mega show last week, but we know what the company's capable of. We know we can get a 100 rating. We just need to make sure we have everybody on their A game to make it happen. But as always, cheers for watching. Wee thumbs up would be deeply appreciated. Mind check out the Greydale Software forums, the Fantasy Bookers subreddit, and twdb.com and bethebooker.net. And until next time, this is Maxwell. I'll see you next week for the go home week to Forbidden Door. Bye bye.